The thermal scope painted Montana wilderness in shades of green and black. Sarah Ashford counted 3 guards on the east wall at 2:14 hours. 12-minute rotation, 8-minute window, $50,000 waited beyond those stone walls. Enough for Alaska cabin, far from packed territories and their endless wars.
Here,
The client
drink
had been
this.
specific
It'll
documents
help.
from Royal Archives, 3rd floor, northwest corner. In and out before dawn. She'd done worse for less. The climbing rope whispered against granite as she scaled the perimeter. Blackthorn Palace had stood 200 years built when werewolf kings ruled openly. Security had evolved. The silent alarm system was new military grade. She'd studied blueprints for 3 weeks, bribed a maintenance worker for access codes. Should have disabled the motion sensors. Her boots touched manicured lawn at 0219. The garden spread like a maze, but she'd walked worse terrain during 11 years as rogue. Lockpicks ready, she approached the service entrance. Mechanism yielded after 40 seconds. Too easy. The tranquilizer dart hit her shoulder 3 steps inside. Cold spread fast. Professional. Her knees buckled. Hands caught her arms, voices speaking in clipped military cadence that faded as consciousness slipped away. Last thought should have taken the Alaska job. Consciousness returned in stages. Ache in her shoulder. Restraints, zip ties securing wrist behind metal chair. Concrete walls. Single door. One-way glass. Military facility smelled disinfectant and gun oil. They'd removed weapons,
Here,
but left
drink
clothes.
this. It'll help.
Interrogation, not execution. The door opened at 0847. Late 40s weathered face combat veteran. Colonel's insignia. 2 coffee cups, easy confidence. He set one just out of reach. His voice graveled. Name, rank. Who hired you? Sarah met his gaze. 11 years surviving taught her showing fear invited predators. Jane Smith, no rank, freelance. The colonel sipped coffee, studying her. Freelance infiltrator in the most secure facility in North America. That takes skill. Also stupidity walking into a trap. So they'd known. The maintenance worker palace security's bait. Clever. He continued. 11 years off-grid according to your scent. Rogue Omega surviving where most rogues last 11 months. Impressive. Makes me wonder what drives someone with your record to infiltrate a palace full of alphas who kill intruders as policy. Sarah weighed options. Truth might serve better. Hired contract. $50,000 for documents. Didn't ask questions. That's professional work. Something shifted in his assessment. Professional. Second interesting word. First was freelance. Suggests you have standards, rare in rogues.
Here, drink this.
He leaned back.
It'll help.
Colonel Riker Stone. I handle security for General Damon Blackthorn, the AlphaKing. He takes personal interest in anyone breaching defenses. You're about to meet him. Meeting the AlphaKing meant recruitment or execution. No middle ground. 30 minutes later, larger room. Concrete walls, but proper furniture, windows showing mountain peaks. Still zip ties loosened for circulation. The door opened without preamble. General Damon Blackthorn filled the entrance, 6'4" broad shoulders, economical movement from decades of training. But his eyes arrested attention. Silver, true metallic silver marking alpha bloodline, appearing once per generation. 40 years had carved lines around those eyes. Scars marked his hands below rolled sleeves. This man earned rank through combat, not politics. Sarah's Omega nature screamed to drop her gaze, submit, acknowledge the raw power. She met his eyes anyway. Submission invited domination. He studied her. When he spoke, controlled authority resonated. You got further than any infiltrator in 5 years. 3 guards in medical. You fight well for an Omega. Sarah kept level. They weren't that good. Corner of his mouth lifted fractionally. No, they weren't. You were better. Which
Here,
raises
drink
questions
this.
about why
It'll
someone
help.
with your skills needs contracts from people who set you up. So he'd figured that out. Compromised intel. The trap. Damon moved to the window, hands clasped behind his back. Deliberate vulnerability presenting his back as demonstration, she was no threat despite proven combat abilities. I have a problem. 3-year insurgency on eastern border. Rogue cells with military precision, coordinated attacks, strategic timing, professional equipment. Someone's training them, supplying them. My intelligence can't infiltrate because PAC scent marks operatives before they get within 5 miles. He turned. but you smell like nobody. 11 years suppressing Omega's signature. You could walk into camps and they'd believe you, because you are one of them. The offer crystallized before he voiced it. Infiltrate rogue networks, identify leadership, find who's financing them. 6 months, possibly less. He named a figure that made 50,000 look like pocket change. 250,000, full pardon. Pack citizenship if you wanted medical care, housing protection under Northern Dominion law. Sarah found her voice. And if I refuse, 15 years military prison for espionage.
Here, drink this.
You're 28.
It'll help.
Out at 43. If you survive, which most Omegas don't, brutal math, prison or service, death or employment. But something else lurked beneath the offer. Tension in Damon's posture despite casual stance. This mattered personally beyond strategic advantage. Sarah made her decision using calculus that kept her alive, 11 years adaptability over pride. I'll do it, but I work alone. No pack oversight beyond direct reports. Damon's satisfaction was subtle but visible. Agreed, report to me directly. Weekly check-ins, encrypted channels. But you live here until deployment. Learn our systems. Train with special operations. Get medical clearance. Prove you can follow orders before I trust you in the field. Sarah held his gaze. I don't need training. Yes, you do. Damon moved to the door. You got caught, Captain Ashford. Skill without adaptability is arrogance. Report to Colonel Stone in 30. He'll process clearance. Training starts tomorrow, Oro 500. The door closed with finality. 2 weeks blurred into continuous training. Sarah was assigned quarters in officers' barracks, Spartan but functional. The uniform fit perfectly, despite nobody measuring her. Someone had anticipated
Here, drink
acceptance.
this.
Training
It'll
yard at 0430. 50 soldiers in formation. Riker's voice cut through dawn. New recruit, Captain Sarah Ashford, transferred from independent operations. She'll train with special operations. I expect you to treat her exactly as any other soldier. If she can't keep up, you make her keep up. We don't leave anyone behind. Clear chorus of affirmatives. Captain, you're with Alpha Squad. Alpha Squad, 8 wolves, all larger by 50 pounds and 6 inches. Leader scarred beta named Marcus sized her up. Name's Marcus. I run Alpha Squad. Follow orders, watch your sector, don't get anyone killed through stupidity. Manage that. Sarah met his gaze. Managed 11 years alone. Can manage 2 weeks with backup. Respect flickered across Marcus's face. We'll see. 10-mile run, full gear mountain terrain. Falls or failure, move out. The squad took off at punishing pace designed to test the outsider. Sarah fell into rhythm muscle memory taking over. The pack moved as unit rotating, trail breaking every half mile. 3 miles in steep grade. 45 degrees loose scree under snow. Terrain that punished mistakes. Sarah's thighs burned as she dug for purchase, using techniques learned from necessity. Move fast enough for momentum, slow enough for control. She reached the ridge, 30 seconds behind Marcus, ahead of 3 squad members who'd trained together for years. Marcus's nod held grudging approval. Not bad for a rogue, let's see the descent. By the time they hit level ground, Sarah's legs felt like rubber lungs burned deep. But she'd finished. Marcus checked his watch. 1 hour 43. Acceptable. Omega. No mockery. Sarah's breathing came hard. Yeah, Omega. You got a problem. Not if you keep up. We've lost 3 alphas on that run. You're the first Omega who finished without falling. That counts. The pattern repeated across 2 weeks. Hand-to-hand where Sarah learned to use speed against opponents outweighing her by 100 pounds. Marksmanship with silver-tipped ammunition. Tactical scenarios in war rooms where colored pins represented lives. Damon observed from command window's presence constant but distant. Never spoke directly. Just watched with silver eyes cataloging every movement. Riker provided direct feedback, brutally honest but constructive. After she disarmed 2 alphas, you fight like you've got nothing to lose. Makes you dangerous, but reckless.
Here,
reckless gets your team killed.
It'll help.
Learn to fight like you've got people depending on you staying alive. She worked at it, watched Marcus position himself covering blind spots, noticed minimal signal communication, absorbed the unspoken code governing soldiers who knew the difference between courage and suicide. Day 12, capture the flag exercise across 20 miles. Sarah spotted a flaw in base defenses, blind spot in perimeter surveillance. She reported it to Damon that evening. His attention shifted from tactical displays. Why tell me not your job to audit security? Sarah kept level. Professional pride. If I'm working for you, your operation should be tight. Sloppy security gets people killed. Something flickered in Silver eyes. Recalibration. Fixed. Good eye. Anything else? Eastern Patrol rotation has 6-minute gap at Sector 3 checkpoint. Someone who knows timing could slip through. Damon's jaw tightened. How long have you known? Since day 3. Took a week to confirm it wasn't intentional bait. He studied her. You could have kept that. Used it as insurance if you needed to run. Instead, you're improving my defensive posture. That's either loyalty or long-term strategic thinking. Which, Sarah met his gaze. Survival.
Here, drink
if
this.
Eastern border gets
It'll help.
compromised while I'm embedded with rogues, I lose extraction route. I need you strong enough to hold territory. Truth mostly, but something about Damon's leadership had earned grudging respect. He led from front, trained with troops, made decisions based on tactical reality, not political convenience. Rare enough to merit preservation. Damon's expression remained neutral, but posture shifted infinitesimally. Dismissed. Report to Riker tomorrow, 0600. He'll brief insertion plan. Halfway to door, his voice stopped her. Ashford. She turned, something she couldn't parse in his eyes. Thank you for the security analysis. Not everyone would share intelligence that could be leveraged as personal advantage. War room smelled of coffee and tactical anxiety. Maps covered walls showing Northern Dominion's 7 territories. Red pins marked rogue attacks, dozens forming patterns that scream coordination. Riker stood at main display, addressing assembled officers. Damon sat at table head, Sarah positioned at his right seat, traditionally for senior advisors. Placement hadn't escaped notice. Riker's pointer tracked the map. Pattern analysis shows coordinated strikes on supply convoys. Targets medical supplies, ammunition,
Here,
fuel.
drink this.
Not civilian
It'll help.
infrastructure. Military logistics. Someone with command training is planning these. General Marcus Brennan leaned forward, 62 years evident in deep lines, but mind sharp. Rogues don't have that sophistication. They're scavengers. This suggests organized funding and professional military advisors. Damon's voice cut through. Exactly. Someone wants us weakened. Someone with resources to train and equip guerrilla forces across a 1,000-mile front. Brennan's attention shifted to Sarah's assessment cold. And you think sending an Omega into rogue territory will identify this benefactor rogues don't trust easily? Won't trust an outsider with no verifiable background. Sarah held his gaze. The general radiated old-school military tradition, viewing Omegas as support personnel, at best liabilities at worst. Her voice remained level. Rogues don't fight unless cornered or paid. 11 years taught me that. You're right, they don't trust outsiders, but they trust survival instinct. I'll present as someone running from pack justice. Someone with skills who needs work. Mercenaries are always in demand when someone's financing a war. Brennan's scent carried skepticism. When they demand proof of crimes, verify
this.
your story.
It'll help.
I infiltrated this palace. That's proof of capability and desperation. My face is probably already circulating as wanted operative. Damon's fingers drummed once rare tell suggesting deliberation. General Brennan raises valid concerns. But Captain Ashford is correct, her recent actions provide natural cover. Question is communications security once embedded. Riker produced a small case. Dead drops, old-fashioned but reliable. Secure locations along the border for physical reports. If she's compromised, she cuts a tracking chip, triggers immediate extraction. Sarah absorbed details with focus learned from memorizing terrain and escape routes. Dead drops meant no electronic trail, but required maintaining cover to reach locations. Tracking chip was standard though. Immediate extraction was optimistic given distances. Brennan spoke again, tone carrying decades of command weight. This operation rests on assuming Captain Ashford maintains loyalty to a pack she's not part of, to a general she met 2 weeks ago, while embedded with wolves who share her circumstances and offer legitimate community. That's asking a great deal of someone whose survival strategy has been self-interest. Calculated precision, testing both Sarah's
Here,
commitment
drink this.
and Damon's judgment.
It'll help.
Damon's response came measured but firm. Captain Ashford has had multiple opportunities to compromise our security. Instead, she's improved defensive posture and performed beyond expectations. That buys operational trust. If she proves me wrong, I'll take full responsibility. Public staking of authority on Sarah's loyalty, in rigid military hierarchy rare and significant. Brennan's jaw tightened. Your faith in the Omega's character is noted, General. I hope it proves warranted. For all our sakes. Meeting continued drilling operational details. When officers filed out, Brennan remained. He approached Sarah deliberately. Voice below conversation threshold meant for her ears. You're walking into a situation with no backup and limited extraction. If you fail, good soldiers die. If you succeed but can't get out, you die. Either way, someone pays the cost of General Blackthorn's gamble. Make sure it's worth it. Sarah met his eyes. Every choice for 11 years has been calculated risk. This one pays better than most. Brennan's expression held something between respect and pity. Money only matters if you live to spend it. Remember that when surrounded by wolves who will kill you the moment they suspect truth.
It'll help.
He left without waiting for response. Deployment came at 0648 hours later. Cold Montana dawn breath turning to frost. Sarah wore civilian clothes, demarking her as neither pack nor authority. Tactical gear stripped away, leaving core identity rogue. Survivor. Nobody. Riker handed her pack with supplies that wouldn't draw attention. Encrypted radio looked commercial. Dead drop locations existed only in memory. First drop in 72 hours unless you make contact earlier. Emergency extraction is 3 rapid clicks, channel 7. 6 hours from transmission before we assume capture or death. Sarah took the pack, settled it across shoulders. Understood. Anything else? Yeah. Riker's expression softened. My daughter's Emma. She's got your stubborn streak. If you meet her someday, don't tell her I said that. Unexpected personal detail felt like benediction and burden. Sarah nodded, unable to articulate the weight. Damon arrived at 0555. He cleaned up since their late conversation, but shadows under eyes betrayed sleepless hours. He addressed Riker first. Colonel, give us a moment. Riker withdrew to checkpoint station. Damon's voice came lower.
Drink this.
I have standing orders that if you're captured and interrogated, we disavow all knowledge. You become independent operative without official sanction. Standard protocol for deep cover. I need you to understand what that means. If they torture you, we won't acknowledge your connection. You'll face consequences alone. Brutal honesty was almost refreshing. Sarah met his eyes. I know, I'm expendable. Mission matters more than any individual asset. Made peace with that. You're not expendable. Intensity suggested this mattered beyond operations. You're a soldier taking necessary risks. But you're also, he stopped jaw working. Come back. Not because I ordered you to, because I want you to. Distinction landed with weight transcending professional relationship. Sarah found herself responding with equal honesty. I'll do everything to make that happen, for tactical and personal reasons. Damon's hand moved to uniform pocket, produced something small, glinting silver. St. Christopher medal, old and worn. My mother gave this before she died, said it would keep me safe in dangerous places. Not sure I believe that, but not sure I don't. Take it. Sarah accepted the medallion medal, still worn.
Drink this.
Gesture transcended protocol, entering territory neither had acknowledged. Personal investment, emotional attachment. She slipped the chain around her neck, tucked metal inside shirt, where it rested against sternum. I'll bring it back. Bring yourself back. Metal's just metal. Moment stretched, charged with potential, and waited with everything unspoken. Then Damon stepped back, reassuming professional distance. You have your orders, Captain. Execute the mission. Report as able. Dismissed. Sarah shouldered, pack checked, concealed pistol, walked across border into territory where she'd spent 11 years surviving. Landscape looked same mountains, forest, snow-covered wilderness hiding 1,000 wolves. But everything felt different. Walking toward danger, not away. Choosing engagement, not avoidance. Operating with backup that might matter or might come too late. Border checkpoint disappeared behind tree line within 15 minutes. Sarah fell into rhythm. Learn from living off-grid move efficiently, conserve energy, stay aware without fixating. Forest was alive with winter sounds, wind through branches, distant hawk snow, crunching under boots, leaving tracks she couldn't prevent. 3 hours and first sign of rogue presence.
Here, drink this.
Camp recently
It'll
abandoned
help.
fire pit holding faint warmth. Supplies cached in trees suggested wolves expecting to return. Sarah committed location to memory coordinates for first dead drop. Not significant alone, but part of larger pattern building into actionable intelligence. By noon, she'd crossed into territory showing organized presence. Patrol routes marked by regular tracks. Observation posts positioned with military precision. Infrastructure requiring coordination beyond what desperate rogues usually managed. Luther's organization was professional. Question was whether she could penetrate it before someone discovered truth. Contact came at 1620, walking into settlement with deliberate visibility. Sentry who intercepted was young, maybe 25, nervous energy of someone still learning to trust instincts. Voice carried suspicious authority. "Who are you? This is claimed territory." Sarah kept hands visible, posture non-threatening but confident. "Name's Sarah, looking for work. Heard there's someone called Luther who pays for professional skills." Sentry's eyes narrowed. "What kind of skills?" "Infiltration, combat, survival, whatever needs doing. Spent 11 years rogue. Know how to move unseen and fight when movement fails." "A lot of rogues know survival. Why should Luther
Here,
care
drink
about
this.
you?"
It'll
Sarah
help.
smiled without humor. "Because 2 weeks ago I infiltrated Blackthorn Palace and made it to 3rd floor before they caught me. I'm the Omega who embarrassed the AlphaKing's security and lived. My face is probably on every wanted poster in Northern Dominion by now. That makes me valuable to anyone who wants to hurt them." Sentry's expression shifted from suspicious to calculating. If she was telling truth and specific knowledge suggested she represented exactly what Luther recruited. Professional, motivated, willing to take risks. Voice lost, hostile edge. "Wait here, I'll send word to Luther. If he wants to meet you, someone will come. If not, you walk away and don't come back. Clear." Clear. Sentry disappeared into forest. Sarah was left alone in clearing that felt exposed. She'd crossed threshold, made initial contact. Now everything depended on whether Luther's intelligence confirmed her story or revealed holes in cover. Wait stretched 90 minutes, long enough for doubt, for second-guessing every decision, leading to standing alone in hostile territory, claiming allegiance to wolves who'd kill her the moment they suspected truth. The man who emerged looked exactly like surveillance photos, 50s,
Here, drink
scarred
this.
face, speaking of
It'll
violence
help.
survived, eyes assessing threats with professional dispassion. Luther, the code name attached to tactical planning. Rogue leader who'd evaded capture 3 years while building insurgency, threatening Northern Dominion stability. Voice graveled from too much shouting over gunfire. "You're the Omega caught in Blackthorn Palace." Statement demanding confirmation or denial. Sarah met his gaze. "I'm the Omega who infiltrated Blackthorn Palace. Got caught because someone compromised intel, not because I lack skill." Big difference. Luther's expression didn't shift, but posture suggested evaluation. "Why should I trust you? For all I know, you're running infiltration play right now. Caught, turned, sent back to spy." Accusation was exactly what Sarah prepared for. Response came with details suggesting truth. "If I'd turned informant, I'd offer intelligence about Blackthorn's defensive posture. Try buying into your organization with useful information. Instead, I'm offering skills and asking for work. Mercenary looking for employment, not turncoat proving loyalty through betrayal. Check my story, I don't care. But I need work and heard you pay professionals." Luther studied her with dispassionate
Here,
focus
drink
of
this.
someone who'd learned to
It'll
read
help.
deception through years of surviving, where trust killed as often as violence. Whatever he saw passed initial screening. "I've got work. Question is whether you've got stomach for it. We're hitting Blackthorn's supply convoy tomorrow night. 4 trucks carrying medical supplies and ammunition. I need someone who can infiltrate advanced scout position, take out spotter signal all clear, so our ambush team moves into position without tripping alarms." Sarah absorbed mission parameters with practiced calm despite internal alarm. Being asked to actively participate in operation costing Blackthorn soldiers lives or supplies. Refusing meant blowing cover. Accepting meant becoming complicit in violence she was supposed to prevent. She kept voice level. What's the pay? 5,000 for successful completion. Another 5 if we capture convoy intact. You prove yourself on this, there's more work. Better pay. Eventually, you meet people who finance our operations. That's where real money lives. 10,000 for one night. More than many rogues earned in 6 months. Offer was both generous and test. Luther evaluating whether she'd hesitate, whether mercenary pragmatism would override any residual pack loyalty.
Here,
Sarah
drink
made
this.
calculation 11 years of survival demanded. I'm in, when and where. Luther's smile held no warmth. Good. We move out at 2200. Don't make me regret this, Omega. I've killed people for less than betraying my trust. Threat was clear. Sarah nodded, accepting terms with outward calm, masking churning calculation beneath. 30 hours before convoy ambush. 30 hours to decide whether maintaining cover meant becoming the thing she was supposed to stop, or whether breaking cover to warn Blackthorn meant dying in hostile territory far from extraction. Choice between mission parameters and personal ethics loomed large and immediate. For the first time in years, Sarah wasn't certain which choice would let her keep living with herself. The advance team consisted of 5 wolves. They moved through darkness with practiced silence, following terrain that kept them invisible to Blackthorn surveillance. Convoy route passed through natural choke point, narrow valley with limited visibility. No alternate paths. Perfect ambush territory. Perfect for defensive countermeasures if Blackthorn had warning. They reached checkpoint 7 at 23:30. Scout was positioned exactly where intelligence predicted, watching approaches through night vision equipment. Young, maybe 20 years old. Probably first real deployment.
Here, drink this.
Luther's plan
It'll
called for
help.
Sarah to eliminate him, quietly take his position, signal convoy's approach at 01:30. Simple, efficient, lethal. Sarah circled wide, approaching from blind spot with movements learned from 11 years unseen. Blade ready, one quick strike would end him before alarm. Clean, professional. She was 3 feet behind when Scout spoke without turning. I can smell you, Captain Ashford. Been able to for the last minute. You're not as quiet as you think. Voice was familiar. Tactical calculation collapsed into recognition as Scout turned night vision goggles, pushed up, revealing face she knew from training. Private Jake Morrison, 20 years old. Riker's best friend's son. Kid who'd asked her marksmanship advice 3 days before deployment. Expression held no fear, just tired resignation. They sent you deep cover makes sense. You were always better at infiltration. Guess I'm tonight's mission objective. That right, Sarah's grip tightened on Blade. Every instinct screamed contradictions. Mission parameters demanded silence. Moral calculation demanded different choice. Personal connection complicated everything. Morrison continued, voice steady. If you're gonna do it, make it fast.
Here,
I've got a
drink
sister
this.
back home.
It'll
Don't
help.
want her wondering if I suffered. Words hit like physical impact. This wasn't abstract tactical calculation. This was kid who trusted her 3 weeks ago, asking for mercy before murder. Sarah made choice that rewrote everything. She lowered Blade. They captured you. Morrison's confusion was immediate. What rogues captured you during patrol last week? I'm undercover trying to find their leadership and supply network. But I need you to play prisoner convincingly while keeping you alive long enough for extraction. Think you can handle that? Question landed with weight transcending tactics. Shrey was betting everything mission life. Damon's trust on this kid's ability to sell deception under conditions that would test training and character. Morrison's expression shifted through confusion toward understanding, toward determination. I can handle it. What do you need? Fight me. Make it look real. I'll put you down but not out. When Luther's team arrives, you're injured and captured. Play desperate. Play scared. But don't let them kill you out of convenience. Make yourself valuable. Information about patrol patterns, anything that sounds useful but doesn't compromise actual operations. Can you improvise
Here,
that
drink
detail?
this. It'll
Yes,
help.
ma'am, I can do that. Sarah took position. On my count, 3, 2, 1. Fight was brief and brutal. Morrison swung hard, connecting with her ribs and blow that would leave bruises, but played as genuine combat. Sarah responded with controlled violence, putting him on ground with techniques that looked devastating but stopped short of permanent damage. When he went down, zip ties secured wrists with pressure convincing, but not circulation cutting. Morrison played his role perfectly, gasping, struggling, selling image of captured soldier facing interrogation and death. Sarah activated tactical radio. Advance team to Luther, Kaut neutralized. Prisoners secured. Convoy route confirmed. Proceed with phase 2. Luther's response carried satisfaction. Good work. Hold position. Assault team moving to ambush position now. We'll be there in 20. Struss settled into wait mode, watching Morrison with detached focus from compartmentalizing morality and survival. She'd made choice saving one life tonight while potentially costing others. Math was impossible and she'd stopped trying to balance equation. Morrison's voice came quiet. Thank you for not killing me.
Here,
Thank me when we're both alive after this goes sideways. You think it will? I think nothing in this situation is simple, and we're both operating blind in terrain that punishes mistakes with death. So yeah, something's going to break, and when it does, we need to be smart about staying alive long enough for extraction. Morrison absorbed honesty with resignation, recognizing truth. Roger that, Captain. I'll follow your lead. Convoy arrived at Aero 147 17 minutes late, according to schedule Luther's intelligence provided. 4 trucks moving cautiously through terrain, offering limited visibility and multiple ambush points. Blackthorn's security protocols demanded scouts and outriders, which meant Convoy wasn't as vulnerable as Luther believed. But Luther didn't know that. He'd planned for 4 trucks and minimal security. What he got was 4 trucks, 6 escort vehicles, and 20 combat-trained soldiers expecting potential contact. Sarah realized with cold certainty someone had leaked intelligence about ambush to Blackthorn Command. Convoy was bait. Entire operation was trap designed to capture or kill Luther's assault team, which meant Sarah and Morrison were caught between 2 forces about to collide with lethal intent. Ambush began at 0152 when Luther's assault team opened fire on lead vehicle. Return fire came immediately, and with overwhelming force that scattered rogue assault team across terrain, offering limited cover. Sarah grabbed Morrison, rolled them both into depression, providing minimal protection from crossfire chewing through forest. Morrison's voice came urgent. They knew we were coming. Someone tipped them. Yeah. Sarah's tactical calculation collapsed into survival mode, which means we're expendable to both sides right now. Stay low, stay quiet, wait for chaos to give us opening. Firefight intensified as both sides committed to violence, costing lives regardless of outcome. Sarah tracked movements through sound and muzzle flash, building tactical picture of battle going badly for Luther's team. They'd expected surprise advantage and minimal resistance. Instead, they'd walked into professional ambush from soldiers who knew exactly where attack would come from. Luther's voice carried across tactical radio fury and desperation, mixing into orders demanding retreat. All teams extract. This is trap abort mission extract to rally point Beta. Withdrawal was brutal and costly. Sarah watched 3 rogues go down under the sustained fire bodies left behind as survivors fled into darkness, offering only protection available. She pulled Morrison to his feet, knife-cutting restraints as tactical necessity overrode maintaining cover. His confusion was immediate. What are you doing? Keeping you alive. When I say run, you run toward Blackthorn lines. Don't stop. Don't look back. Tell Damon the convoy was bait, and Luther knew about it before we engaged. That's critical intelligence. Understand. Morrison's military training kicked in. Understood. What about you? I'm staying with Luther's team. Mission isn't over. Now run. She shoved him toward Blackthorn positions, providing covering fire that looked like shooting at him while actually keeping enemy soldiers' heads down long enough for Morrison to cross kill zone. He made it to friendly lines, disappeared into tactical formation that would protect and debrief him. Sarah turned and ran opposite direction, following Luther's retreat path through forest smelling of cordite and blood. She'd saved Morrison's life, maintained cover with Luther's organization, and delivered critical intelligence about compromised operation. But she'd also crossed threshold, making everything more complicated. Now both sides had reasons to question her loyalty, and she'd have to navigate increasingly impossible terrain with decreasing margin for error. Mission had just become exponentially more dangerous. Rogue's safe house smelled of wet wood and
Here,
desperation.
drink this.
Sarah arrived at 0430 with Luther's surviving team, 8 wolves out of 15 who'd attempted convoy ambush. 3 dead on site, 4 missing, and presumed captured. Mathematics of failure written in blood in empty bunks. Luther's fury was controlled, but absolute. He stood at command center, converted hunting cabin with maps and communications equipment, addressing survivors with cold precision of someone calculating casualties and next moves. Someone leaked ambush coordinates to Blackthorn Command. That convoy wasn't target, it was bait. They knew exactly where we'd hit and with what force, which means we have traitor in our network. Accusation hung heavy. Sarah felt every eye calculating who might have sold out. She kept expression neutral, aware that showing too much concern invited suspicion, while showing too little suggested sociopathy. Marcus, combat veteran with Luther 2 years, spoke first. "We need to interrogate everyone who had access to operational plan." Someone talked. Luther's silver gaze swept room, assessing each face. When attention landed on Sarah, she met it without flinching. Luther's words came measured. "Omega is newest, arrived yesterday, took point on scout elimination. Convenient timing for someone running infiltration play."
Here, drink this.
Room's temperature
It'll
dropped.
help.
Sarah felt collective shift, turning toward potential threat, preparing to isolate and neutralize. She'd survived 11 years recognizing these moments where survival depended on perfect calibration of response. Voice remained level. "If I'd turned informant, I wouldn't have captured Scout alive. I would have killed him to prevent intelligence leakage and signaled convoy's approach exactly as ordered. Instead, I took prisoner Blackthorn, now has in custody, ready to interrogate about our operational procedures. That's opposite of protecting your security." Luther's expression didn't shift, but posture suggested calculation. "Unless capturing him was necessary to maintain cover. Give us prisoner we'd want to interrogate while feeding Blackthorn real-time positioning through tracking device or communications intercept." Logic was sound enough to be dangerous. Sarah had to redirect suspicion without appearing defensive. "Then search me, strip search if necessary. Check for tracking chips, hidden communications, anything that could transmit data. I've got nothing to hide and everything to lose if you think I'm compromised." Willingness to submit to invasive search suggested confidence from innocence. Luther studied her for long seconds, feeling
Here,
like minutes.
drink this.
"We'll verify."
It'll help.
But searching everyone slows response to compromised network. Blackthorn knows we're operating in this sector. They'll move assets to exploit that knowledge. We need to relocate and establish new operational security, identify actual leak before attempting another strike. He turned to Marcus. "Take the Omega, sweep her for devices. Strip search, electronic scan, full protocol. If she's clean, she stays. If not..." Implication was clear. Marcus gestured for Sarah to follow. She went without protest, aware resistance would confirm suspicion. Smaller cabin equipped with detection equipment that looked military surplus gear that could identify most commercial tracking devices but might miss specialized chip Blackthorn implanted. Marcus's voice was professional but carried underlying threat. "Strip everything. Put clothes in that bin. I'll scan them first, then scan you." Sarah complied with detached efficiency of someone who'd learned modesty was luxury rogues couldn't afford. Clothes went into designated container. Marcus ran them through electronic scanner that beeped reassuringly green. No transmitters, no hidden devices, nothing suggesting active monitoring. Body scan took longer. Marcus used handheld unit sweeping, head to toe, lingering where devices typically got implanted. When it passed over shoulder blades, Sarah's calculations spiked. If chip triggered detection, she'd have seconds to act before Marcus raised alarm. Scanner remained silent. Military-grade shielding worked as designed. Marcus's expression held grudging approval. "You're clean. Get dressed. Luther will want to hear this." Back in command center, Luther received Marcus's report with visible relief that didn't entirely erase suspicion. Trust came in increments among rogues who'd survived betrayal too many times. Luther's attention shifted to operational concerns. "We relocate in 6 hours, pack everything essential, destroy anything that could provide intelligence if Blackthorn raids." New location is 40 miles north. Colder, more isolated, harder to surveil. We'll rebuild operational security there before attempting another strike. Orders came with military precision. Wolves scattered to execute tasks. Sarah joined effort packing equipment while mind raced through calculations. 6 hours before camp relocated to position she couldn't predict. 6 hours to make contact through emergency protocols or commit to continuing mission. Blind trusting whatever intelligence gathered would be worth risk of complete isolation.
Here, drink this.
St. Christopher medal
It'll
pressed
help.
against sternum like physical weight of Damon's faith. She'd promised to report within 72 hours. Window was closing fast, in dead drop locations were all south now, impossible to reach without abandoning mission entirely. Decision crystallized with cold clarity from years of impossible choices. She'd stay embedded, gather intelligence on relocation site, identify actual traitor before Luther's paranoia cost lives on both sides. Trust that Damon would understand silence meant complications, not betrayal. New camp was everything Luther promised: isolated, defensible, miserable in way. Montana wilderness specialized in February. Temperatures dropping to -20 at night, cold enough to kill exposed wolves within hours. Location set in natural bowl, surrounded by ridges making aerial surveillance difficult and ground approach visible from miles. Professional military thinking informed every aspect. Luther had learned from someone with command training, possibly multiple someones. Question remained, who financed this and what did they gain from destabilizing Blackthorn? Sarah spent 3 days integrating while watching for patterns that might reveal real leak. She noticed intelligence about Blackthorn movements came through radio operator named Vincent, late 30s. Former
Here,
pack
drink
member
this.
exiled for reasons he
It'll
wouldn't
help.
discuss. He maintained contact with what he called sources inside Blackthorn's command structure, feeding Luther updated convoy schedules, patrol routes, defensive positions. Vincent was either extraordinarily well connected or he was the leak running information both directions. Sarah cultivated proximity, carefully offering to help with communications maintenance. Vincent accepted with wariness, characterizing all rogue interactions, but gradually relaxed as she demonstrated competence and asked minimal questions. Fourth night opportunity presented. Vincent left post briefly to retrieve supplies. Sarah moved fast, accessing communications log. What she found confirmed suspicions and raised new questions. Encrypted messages sent to coordinates mapping to Blackthorn military installations, but also messages sent to different coordinates somewhere in Eastern Coalition territory, hundreds of miles from Northern Dominion borders. Vincent wasn't just feeding intelligence to one party. He was playing both sides, selling to whoever paid better. Sarah photographed logs using disposable camera, low-tech solution, avoiding electronic trails. Evidence was damning but incomplete. She needed to identify Vincent's handlers, both sides, before making any move that would blow cover.
Here,
Vincent
drink this.
returned before she could
It'll
access
help.
encrypted message content. Eyes narrowed, seeing her near communications equipment. Voice carried sharp suspicion. "What are you doing?" Sarah's response came with practiced ease. "Checking backup power supply. You mentioned it acting up yesterday. Thought I'd troubleshoot while you were gone. Battery connections were loose. Should be stable now." Lie was plausible enough that Vincent's posture relaxed fractionally, but damage was done. He'd caught her near sensitive equipment. From now on, he'd watch carefully, looking for confirmation of suspicions she'd just planted. Investigation had accelerated beyond her ability to control timing. Tribunal happened faster than anyone expected. Luther called assembly 12 hours after Sarah's near miss, addressing entire camp with formal gravity, suggesting serious consequences. Voice carried across clearing where 75 wolves gathered in loose formation. "Someone compromised our convoy operation. 3 wolves died because someone leaked operational plans to Blackthorn. I won't tolerate betrayal. We're going to find who sold us out, and we're going to make sure it never happens again." Threat was explicit. Sarah felt tension ripple through assembled rogues, fear and anger mixing into volatile combination.
Here,
These
drink
wolves
this.
survived by
It'll
trusting
help.
each other. Discovering traitor threatened everything they'd built. Luther continued. "Vincent, step forward." Radio operator's confusion was either genuine or expertly performed. He moved to front posture, defensive, but not yet overtly hostile. "Sir," Luther's expression held no mercy. "You've been sending encrypted transmissions to locations outside our approved network. Explain." Vincent's face went pale. Those are intelligence contacts, sources who provide information about Blackthorn movements. Standard operational protocol you approved. Luther produced tablet displaying transmission logs. These coordinates don't match any approved source. They map to Eastern Coalition military installations. You've been selling information to foreign powers while pretending to serve our interest. Revelation landed like physical blow. Sarah watched Vincent's expression cycle through denial toward calculation, toward desperate defiance. Guilty man cornered with no escape. Vincent's voice took on hard edge. I did what was necessary to keep this camp supplied. Eastern Coalition pays better than scraping by on Luther's limited budget. We needed resources. I provided access to intelligence that brought in money we couldn't get elsewhere. Confession was both damning and pragmatic. Vincent had betrayed Luther's operation not from ideology, but from mercenary calculation, same motivation, driving half the wolves here. Irony was brutal and obvious. Luther's jaw tightened. You got 3 wolves killed, compromised operational security, and sold intelligence to powers that want both Blackthorn and our organization destroyed so they can claim territory. That's not pragmatism. That's treason. Sentence was implicit before Luther spoke it. Vincent recognized fate and gathered Wolf's expressions shift from confusion to cold acceptance, that justice in rogue territories came swift and final. Vincent's hand moved toward concealed weapon. Motion was desperate and doomed. Luther's shot took him in a chest before pistol-clear jacket. Radio operator went down hard, blood spreading across frozen ground in pattern that would stain snow until spring thaw. Luther's voice remained level despite violence. Anyone else want to sell us out for money? Anyone else think they're smarter than security protocols we've built? Speak now or forever accept that betrayal ends this way. Silence greeted challenge. Sarah felt weight of communal judgment, not mourning for Vincent, but grim acceptance that survival demanded harsh consequences for trust violations. These wolves had all lost too much to pack betrayals, wouldn't tolerate similar dynamics in community built to replace failed systems. Luther holstered weapon, dispose of body, burn anything connected to his intelligence network. We're going dark 72 hours while I establish new communications protocols. No external contact until I'm satisfied security is rebuilt. Order meant Sarah would have no way to report Vincent's exposure or warn Blackthorn that Eastern Coalition had penetrated both organizations. Completely isolated now, committed to seeing mission through to conclusion or death. As wolves moved to follow orders, Luther's attention fixed on Sarah with unsettling intensity. You were near Vincent's equipment yesterday. Marcus mentioned it. Did you see anything unusual? Question was test and trap simultaneously. Admitting she'd discovered leak would raise questions about why she hadn't reported immediately. Denying knowledge might suggest she was protecting Vincent. Narrow path between options required perfect calibration. Sarah met Luther's gaze. I saw loose battery connections that would have caused communications failures within days. Thought I was doing maintenance. Didn't look at transmission logs because that's not my assignment.
It'll help.
If I'd known he was compromised, I would have reported it. I've got no loyalty to traitors. Truth mixed with strategic omission. Luther's expression suggested he accepted answer without fully believing it. She'd remain under scrutiny, possibly active surveillance. Every move from here would be evaluated for signs of duplicity. Mission had become exponentially more dangerous. But in killing Vincent, Luther had eliminated Eastern Coalition's direct line into his organization. That was strategic victory, even if Sarah couldn't claim credit. The question now was whether Eastern Coalition had other operatives embedded in positions she hadn't identified, and whether her continued presence would draw attention that exposed her before she could report what she'd learned. Time was running out. She needed extraction soon, or the isolation would become permanent. The War Council convened in Luther's command center, converted cabin serving as operations hub. Maps covered walls, pins marking Blackthorn positions with meticulous detail. But Vincent's execution had created intelligence gap, crippling operational planning. Luther addressed senior team with frustrated intensity. Without reliable intelligence on Blackthorn movements, we're operating blind. Vincent sold us out, but he was also our primary source for convoy schedules and defensive updates.
It'll help.
We need to rebuild that network before attempting any major operations. Marcus leaned against wall, arms crossed. We've got 3 other sources embedded in various positions, none with Vincent's access, but collectively they provide coverage. Problem is verification. How do we know they're not also compromised? Paranoia was justified, but paralyzing. Sarah recognized spiral once trust collapsed, every subsequent interaction became suspect. Organizations died from internal suspicion as surely as external attack. She found her voice-aware speaking risked attention, but silence meant mission failure. You're thinking like PAC, hierarchical intelligence with centralized failure points. Rogues should think like rogues, distributed networks with multiple redundancies. Don't rely on single sources. Cross-reference everything. If 3 sources report similar intelligence independently, probability of accuracy increases exponentially. Luther's attention shifted to her assessment calculating. You've got operational security training, where question probed for background, revealing actual affiliation. Sarah offered truth wrapped in strategic framing. 11 years surviving means learning counter-surveillance from necessity. You don't last that long without understanding how intelligence networks operate and how to avoid them. I've studied both PAC security and how rogues circumvent it, applied lessons to staying invisible. Luther absorbed explanation with visible consideration. Your insight is noted. Marcus implement distributed verification protocols. Nothing gets acted on without 3-source confirmation. Slows response time but reduces risk of walking into another trap. Decision was sound tactically, but created opportunity. Sarah could feed intelligence through multiple channels, building cover within system. Luther was constructing. Complexity provided room to maneuver in ways single-source penetration couldn't match. Luther's expression held grim calculation, which means we need better intelligence faster. They know our general operational area. They'll move assets to pressure us, probably launch counter operations. We need advance warning. His attention fixed on Sarah. You've proven yourself capable. I've got a job requiring your specific skills. There's a Blackthorn officer, Colonel Riker Stone, coordinating counterinsurgency operations. Access to everything we need, convoy schedules, patrol, patterns, strategic planning. I want him eliminated. Order landed like physical blow.
It'll help.
Sarah kept expression neutral through supreme effort, aware showing reaction would reveal connections she couldn't acknowledge. Riker wasn't just target, he was mentor, friend, father figure. Luther continued. Public assassination, during school event where his daughter's performing. Maximum visibility. Send message that Blackthorn's commanders aren't safe even in civilian settings. Plan was tactically sound and morally monstrous. Using children as backdrop for political assassination violated every principle Sarah had built survival around. But refusing mission would blow cover irrevocably. She found her voice through horror. When and where Luther produced detailed blueprints showing extensive pre-operational planning, someone had surveilled Riker for weeks identifying vulnerability points. Tomorrow, 1400 hours. Central School in Blackthorn City. His daughter Emma has play performance. You'll be positioned on rooftop with sniper rifle. One shot, clean, then extract to secondary position where my team provides cover. Sarah's mind raced while voice remained level. Extraction route. Luther traced path on map. Through service corridors to underground parking. Vehicle waiting. You'll be out before alarm fully propagates. Plan was professional and thorough, which meant Luther had access to military tactical planning expertise beyond simple insurgent operations. Someone with command training was orchestrating these strikes. Sarah committed details to memory while calculating survival odds if she attempted to warn Riker. School was civilian target. Children present. Collateral damage potential was enormous. But blowing cover meant losing chance to identify Luther's handlers and financial backers. Save one life now or gather intelligence saving thousands later. Tactical calculus versus moral imperative. She made decision that would haunt her regardless of outcome. Voice carried no hesitation. Understood. I'll need time to scout position and verify sight lines. Field verification is necessary for mission this sensitive. Luther's approval was visible. Professional. You have got 12 hours for reconnaissance. Report back by 0200 with confirmation or concerns. Sarah nodded, accepting parameters while mind raced ahead to emergency protocols that might prevent massacre Luther had orchestrated. 12 hours to find solution, saving Riker without destroying her mission. 12 hours to betray someone's trust. Only question was whose. Emergency transmission went out at 2100 hours using encrypted burst protocol, reaching Blackthorn Command within minutes. 3 rapid clicks on Channel 7, followed by coordinates and timestamp. Code meaning compromised position. Immediate threat to command. Personnel requires direct intervention. Sarah transmitted from Ridge 3 miles outside Luther's camp beyond range of electronic surveillance, but close enough to return before absence drew suspicion. Message was minimal, no details that could be intercepted and decoded, just enough to trigger protocols protecting Riker while maintaining operational security. Damon would understand. He'd place Riker under additional security, possibly relocate event or cancel entirely. Intelligence was actionable and immediate, but it also marked her position, triggered response that might compromise cover. If Luther had any surveillance on Blackthorn's security changes patterns, would point toward leak in his organization. Sarah would be obvious suspect given recent assignment. Mathematics of exposure were brutal. She'd saved Riker's life at cost of possibly ending her own usefulness as intelligence asset. Mission could still continue if Luther didn't connect her warning to Blackthorn's response. But margin for error had collapsed to nearly nothing. She returned to camp at 22:30, moving through darkness with hypervigilant awareness.
It'll help.
Camp was quiet but not sleeping. Rogues maintained rotating watch. Sarah nodded to sentries as she passed, maintaining casual demeanor of someone returning from authorized reconnaissance. Marcus found her 30 minutes later. Expression carried suspicion, wrapped in professional courtesy. Luther wants update. Says you've been gone 3 hours for mission that should have waited 90 minutes. Sarah met his gaze. Took longer because I found problems with planned extraction route. Service corridor blueprints showed as clear is actually under renovation with scaffolding blocking vehicle access. Needed to find alternative path that wouldn't compromise operation. That took time. Lie was plausible because it contained specific detail inviting verification. Marcus would check corridor status, discover she was telling truth about construction, except that extended absence had legitimate explanation. Posture relaxed fractionally. Show Luther he'll want to adjust planning if extraction is compromised. Command Center Luther with maps and satellite imagery. Sarah detailed fictional problems with clinical precision, offering solutions, demonstrating tactical thinking, while masking real reason for extended absence. Luther absorbed information with visible frustration.
Here, drink this.
Construction wasn't on intelligence reports. That's going to delay extraction by critical minutes. We need to adjust timing or find different route. Sarah traced alternative path on map. Here, underground parking connects to utility tunnels running beneath Civic Center. Original builder access from 1950s construction. Not on modern blueprints, but visible in historical records. I can verify tomorrow during final reconnaissance. Suggestion was calculated risk, providing genuinely useful intelligence, improving Luther's operation while buying time for Blackthorn to respond to warning. Luther's expression shifted toward approval. Good work, professional thinking. Verify the route by 0600 tomorrow. If it's clear, we proceed with adjusted timeline. If not, we abort and find different target. Relief flooded through Sarah despite perfect external control. She'd bought hours, possibly enough for Damon to relocate event or establish security, making assassination impossible. But she'd also crossed threshold, making everything more dangerous. She'd actively sabotaged Luther's operation while maintaining cover. Deception couldn't sustain indefinitely. Eventually, patterns would emerge revealing actual loyalties. Question was whether she'd gather enough intelligence before that revelation cost her life. School event was relocated at 0800 hours, according to intercepted Blackthorn communications. Official reason was scheduling conflict. Real reason was security threat. Damon's command had taken seriously enough to disrupt civilian operations. Luther's response was cold fury. Someone warned them. Someone in our organization or someone who intercepted our planning. Either way, we've got another leak. Sarah maintained careful neutrality while tactical calculations spiked. Luther's paranoia would focus on anyone with opportunity and access. She'd just reported reconnaissance findings improving planning. That helpful competence might protect her or might draw suspicion depending on Luther's interpretation. Marcus voiced what everyone was thinking. How do we know it wasn't the Omega she's newest? She's the one who found problems with original extraction. Convenient that Blackthorn cancels right after she reports. Accusation was logical and damning. Sarah felt Room's attention shift with predatory focus. She had seconds to redirect suspicion or face immediate execution. Voice came level. If I'd warned Blackthorn, I'd have disappeared before event got canceled. Fact that I'm still here means I'm either loyal or stupid enough to stay at scene of my own betrayal. Which do you think is more likely? Luther's calculation was visible in the way eyes tracked between Marcus's accusation and Sarah's defense. Trust was commodity earned through repeated demonstration. She'd proven valuable, but value and loyalty weren't synonymous. His decision came measured. We wait, watch. If Blackthorn acts on intelligence only internal sources could provide, we'll know someone here is compromised. Until then, we continue preparing for alternate operations. Sarah, you're confined to camp. Under guard. If you're innocent, you'll understand this is necessary. If you're guilty, you won't leave here alive. Sentence was house arrest wrapped in polite pragmatism. Sarah was effectively prisoner, while Luther determined whether she'd betrayed his organization. Mission had reached critical failure point where continued success depended on factors beyond her control. Sarah spent 72 hours under surveillance ranging from obvious to invisible. Guards outside quarters, movements tracked, conversations monitored. Luther waiting for her to make mistake, confirming guilt, or provide evidence establishing innocence. Isolation was psychologically calculated to break operatives who cracked under pressure. Sarah endured with patience, learned from 11 years alone. Solitude was familiar, surveillance expected. Only surprise was how much she missed human connection, specifically complicated dynamic developed with Damon during training weeks. Third day of confinement, Luther entered without knocking. Expression unreadable, but posture suggested decision reached. Words came measured. Blackthorn just launched raids on 3 rogue camps we'd been monitoring as potential recruit sources. The timing matches intelligence about those locations that you could have observed during your first week here. And there's more. General Marcus Brennan, Damon's most traditionalist officer, just resigned in protest over reforms and retired to Wyoming. Internal Blackthorn politics you couldn't know about unless someone was feeding you real-time updates. He paused, letting implications settle. But here's what doesn't add up. If you were their operative, you'd know Brennan's departure strengthens Damon's position by removing opposition. You wouldn't have needed to stay embedded this long. You'd have reported that intelligence and extracted. So either you're very deep cover with orders I don't understand, or you're actually who you claim to be, and someone else is feeding Blackthorn our movements. Sarah absorbed the logic carefully. Luther was giving her an out, a way to maintain cover, despite mounting circumstantial evidence. The question was why. Her voice stayed steady. I'm who I've said from the beginning. Mercenary looking for work. If you don't believe that, then kill me and be done with it. But know you'll be eliminating someone who could have betrayed you a dozen times and chose not to. Luther's expression shifted towards something like respect. Ambassador Kale from Eastern Coalition is arriving tomorrow. He's the money behind everything, the weapons, the intelligence, the 3-year operation. He wants to meet the Omega who infiltrated Blackthorn Palace, and he wants to know whether you're an asset or a liability. The revelation changed everything. The Eastern Coalition's direct involvement confirmed. Luther's organization as proxy force becoming clear. And now Sarah would face the actual power behind the insurgency. Here's what's going to happen, Luther continued. Kiel is orchestrating a prisoner exchange tomorrow at dawn. He wants Damon Blackthorn at a specific location for negotiations. But it's an ambush. 50 coalition troops will be waiting to kill him and eliminate me as a loose end. You're being offered as bait. The captured infiltrator, Blackthorn, will trade resources to retrieve. Sarah's tactical mind raced. You're telling me this why? Because I'm done being anyone's proxy. Vincent sold us out to Coalition. They've been using us to weaken Blackthorn so they can invade and claim territory. My daughter died fighting Blackthorn soldiers while Coalition profited from the chaos. I'm finished with that. So I'm giving you a choice play, your role in the exchange, and maybe warn Blackthorn on about the ambush or refuse and die here. The offer was unexpected and genuine. Luther had finally seen through the manipulation, recognized he'd been tool for powers that viewed rogues as expendable. Now he was offering Sarah a chance to stop the massacre Coalition had planned. "I'll do it," Sarah said. "But when Blackthorn arrives, you fight with us against Coalition. Your wolves and mine together. We end this properly." Luther's smile held grim satisfaction. "Agreed. Let's burn down the bastards who've been playing us all."